All right, let's see. Gotta make sure everything's syncing up. Am I having errors? It looks like this is up and running. Sure, continue. Let's make it through here. You. All right, I have to see how to add this to the chat. So I wanted to add this thing called Magma to the stream so that while I'm drawing, if you all wanted to collab, and please don't draw anything bad on this thing, um, you could. You could just like go in here and draw with me and what have you. But I have to look at the logistics of it. I should have grabbed a cup of coffee before I jumped on here. What's poppin'? We'll start shortly. design. Yeah, this design is so cool, man. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I promise. I started late because I was looking. It was very intense. I started looking for a laptop once again. Like it's tough. It's tough. It's, like gotta watch the reviews, see what people are saying in the comment section, how they feel about it. Like I don't like ordering new stuff over and over again, so ideally if I'm gonna purchase something, I want to buy it and it lasts me like a few years. My previous laptop lasted me about 5 or 6 years. Um, no, actually 7 years. It actually lasts me quite a bit of time. So I want to make sure the next one that I get lasts me the same amount of time. Booyah! Let's switch this over. Hey, how's it going? I'm RU Hero, and I turn your favorite characters into spray cans, and I make video games. If you've been here before, of course you know that though. If you're brand new, now you do. Welcome in. How's everybody doing? What's poppin'? Today I'm working on some more Magic the Gathering character designs. I said this stream we're gonna actually go and jam out to some lore. So I'm gonna give people some time to load in, and then we'll start listening to the Chandra lore. But nonetheless, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing pretty good. I don't want 13 minutes. Give us the whole lore, fam. Nothing much, just chilling. It seems like no one has her complete lore. Like, really? We don't get her lore? What's poppin' with you, Cry? I need to close like 20 tabs of me searching for laptops. And I almost bought this other one. I was so close, but it's so bulky. It's so bulky, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah? You have a lot of rain? It's been raining all day over here. I locked in on one and then I touched it and didn't like it. Actually, I touched an adjacent one. So I touched the one that was going to be number 2 and it was just too heavy. And the one that I found, oh my goodness. It's kind of like love at first sight. Like when I touched it, I was like, I want this one. Like it wasn't even like, oh, maybe let me shop around. I was like, no, this is the one. And as long as I can upgrade the memory in it, I will purchase that one. It's like no questions asked. I'm hype about it. The guy at Best Buy tried to get me to get another one, but I'm like, nah, bro, nah. Nope. And they're like, oh, we don't even have that one on display. I don't have it on display, man. I can't even touch the laptop to see what it's about. No. So, yeah. In the meantime, though, I can pause this and switch over so we can listen to some lore, though. This her lore is pretty short. I thought she was gonna have like longer lore, but her lore is like really short. So yeah, I guess hmm, shrugs. That's all we gotta deal with what we have. Um, um, I got some updates for you all after I make this post. There we go. Here we go. Music. Yeah, this is fine. That's fine. All right. So, yeah, it's kind of like I saw the one I want, touched it, I liked it. It was just like it was just there. It was everything I wanted. I picked it up. I was like, I want this one. And at first, when I went there, it was dead. Like they didn't have it plugged up or anything. And I'm like, what's wrong with this laptop? And I'm like, but I want this one though. So yeah, I'm gonna get that one. Okay. Unpause the desktop music. Let's see if this is working. There we go. Um, since y'all couldn't actually see what this looked like beforehand, I'm gonna see how I can fix it to where y'all can see this a little better. I just need to turn on this. Is it gonna? Is it this one? Neither of them are showing up. That's why I'm like, I don't know which one it is. Okay. So, wait a minute. This is, yeah, it should be this one. And it takes up the whole screen, which is actually pretty cool, but not useful. And I kind of wish I could just like grab my iPad, like grab my iPad layer and just like move it to the side just for the stream. Can I like tap this over? Actually, let's do this. Oh wait, this is actually perfect because y'all don't see me fumbling with this very badly. Okay. Where's my iPad screen? This is the iPad screen. Unlock it, and can I like move it? This is funny. I can actually just shift the iPad screen off to the side a little bit. Then I grab the web page, and if I do this with it and maybe do that, I think it looks less weird. Okay, let's see. I'm trying out here. Okay. And maybe if I grab my iPad and I grab this one and scale it back up and move it over. I forgot I'm doing that too. How's this? Yeah? I think this is actually pretty cool. We'll move. Our chat box will still pop up on top of this, so if you do chat things, it'll show up. But I'm gonna move the viewer underneath this. Huh. Am I not under the right one? Yeah, I'm. Oh, snap. What am I doing? Oh. And for the sake of this, I'll turn off my slideshow. All right. There we go. I have it. It's working. And how full screen can I go before it actually isn't legible? Nope, that didn't change anything. I see. Okay, let's get it started. What's up, Zesty Keys? All right, here we go.
Hello, and welcome back to more Magic the Gathering lore. On this video, I want to
I'll turn
discuss
this
the
up a
Red
little bit.
Aligned Planeswalker, Chandra Nalaar. Chandra Nalaar is a Planeswalker who uses red mana to invoke her fire spells. She is a naturally gifted pyromancer whose temperament and passions are matched only by the spells that she casts. Like fire and red mana itself, Chandra is impulsive, passionate, and independent, with a certain distaste for authority. Chandra's story began on an unnamed plane, a child born to a strict mother but a gentle father, and 3 siblings. Chandra was born with the natural ability to create and manipulate flames, and she practiced this skill at a very early age. Her parents found no joy in their child's talents though, for this plane strictly enforced a ban on the practice of pyromancy. In order to calm the inner flame of their daughter, Chandra's parents arranged for her to be married to a local boy when they both came of age. This only served to bellow Chandra's temperament, however, and in an attempt to scare off her parents and her arranged husband, Chandra unleashed a powerful explosion which set several of the local villagers' huts on fire. Afterwards, Chandra ran into the nearby mountains. While she was in hiding, enforcers from the temple who banned pyromancy came to the village to investigate the disturbance. The enforcers did not believe the villagers when they said that all of this destruction was caused by one girl. As a result, the enforcers declared that the entire village must be a pyromancy rebel camp and sentenced the entire village to be immediately executed. Chandra made her way
Dang.
down the mountain and back to her home just in time to see the enforcers' method of execution. With the villagers' huts still burning from Chandra's rage, the people were forced inside to burn along with them. Chandra was horrified to see her entire family trapped
Dang.
inside their burning home, screaming for mercy. She could not stop the events from happening, however, and her entire village died that day. The only thing she could think to do was hand herself over to the enforcers. She walked into the smoldering remains of her village and surrendered. The enforcers put the pyromancer on her knees and swung a sword at her neck. At that instance, the threat caused Chandra's latent planeswalker abilities to spark and teleported her from danger. Chandra bounced from plane to plane, not knowing what exactly she was looking for. She found herself on Kelphalai, a plane characterized by a bureaucratic and totalitarian government. But more so, she found a shamanistic planeswalker named Ramaz. Ramaz told the pyromancer of a powerful scroll which she should seek out and take for her own. Chandra found the location of the artifact, known as the Dragon Scroll, and determined it to be in the Sanctum of Stars.
An obscure fire spell on an ancient scroll. How could I resist?
The Sanctum of Stars is similar to a museum, but it not only holds powerful relics and artifacts from this plane, but from others as well. She broke into the sanctum and stole the scroll. Being less than subtle, Chandra alerted the guards. She was chased by armed men and gargoyles, but managed to escape thanks to a well-timed and very large fire spell. The leaders of the sanctum turned to the Infinite Consortium, a group of multiplanar relic hunters, to retrieve the scroll. Jace Beleren was assigned to track down Chandra, retrieve the scroll, and erase the memories of all those who have read it. Jace tracked Chandra to the plane of Regatha, where she was studying at the Carol Keep. The Carol Keep is a monastery founded many years prior by another fire-wielding planeswalker named Jaya Ballard. Ballard impressed the locals with her abilities and message of personal freedom and individual choice, resulting in them building this shrine and passing on her teachings. Jace confronted Chandra in the keep, and a short fight followed. The Mind Mage gained the upper hand on the short-tempered pyromancer and wiped her memories of the scroll clean, and planeswalked with the dragon scroll in hand. Chandra awoke shortly after with no memory of what happened, all knowledge of the scroll lost to her. Luckily, Chandra had issued that copies of the scroll were to be made by the scribes of the monastery. Chandra picked up one of the copies, and the knowledge of the dragon scroll filled her mind once again. Chandra continued to learn and train in the Carol Keep until the plane was completely taken over by the Order of Helide, a group of zealots who wanted world order and lawfulness. The order issued that all fire magic from that point was illegal and punishable by death. Knowing that the Carol Keep was a haven for pyromancers, the order sent a specter to investigate. In an attempt to ward the keep from the specter, Chandra cast a fire spell which set a large portion of the surrounding forest ablaze. The leader of the order, Walbert, used this event to order the immediate arrest and execution of Chandra. Realizing that a young pyromancer was in danger, the head mage of the Carol Keep, Mother Ludi, suggested that Chandra should go and retake the dragon scroll from Kelphalai. The head mage suggested that the true power of the scroll may not be found in the words written in it, but rather in the very structure of the scroll itself. Chandra planeswalked away to retake what she had stolen before. Chandra found that Jace had delivered the dragon scroll back to the Sanctum of Stars, but unlike her first attempt at thievery, this attempt did not go as planned. Guards cornered her, causing Chandra to retaliate in an attack which destroyed the entire sanctum. Amazingly, Chandra
Dang.
survived the sanctum's destruction and encountered a man named Gideon who helped her escape the rubble. Gideon's helpfulness did not last though, and he quickly turned her over to the guards.
Mm.
The guards tortured Chandra for the location of the scroll she had stolen, but she was unaware of its location because she had lost it during the fight. The stress of the torture caused Chandra to blindly planeswalk to a plane ruled by a vampire and locked in eternal darkness. No, not that plane. This plane was known as Duradin, which only had access to black mana. Chandra soon encountered Gideon, who happened to be a planeswalker, once again in this new plane. He told Chandra that the Dragon Scroll's origins were on the plane of Zendikar, a plane in which mana and magic acted in powerful yet erratic ways. Eventually the pair were captured by the inhabitants of this plane and presented to the ruler of this dark world himself, the vampire prince of Valraz. Gideon was tortured endlessly while Chandra was sent to the prince's private quarters. Chandra, even without her use of red mana, designed a plan to escape which freed Gideon and led to Valraz's death.
Your gifts of jewelry? Not my style. Your hospitality? No, thank you. Still, I think I'm beginning to warm up to you.
The vampire's death removed the shroud which covered the plane in darkness and black mana and allowed the pair to planeswalk back to Regatha. The plane had fallen further under the control of the Order, and shortly after they arrived, Gideon revealed that he too was a member of this Order. Chandra left Gideon and headed to the Carol Keep. There she stayed until the Order finally reached her. The Carol Keep was under siege, but Walbert claimed he would cease only if Chandra gave herself up. Chandra eventually did give herself up in order to spare the lives of those who called the Carol Keep their home. She walked out expecting death, but was faced with a reality far worse. Walbert was in the possession of the Purifying Fire, an ancient artifact which can cleanse a person's soul of their sins and imperfections. Walbert planned on using the relic to strip Chandra of her pyromancy abilities, rendering her a powerless example for all those who sought to dabble in fire magic. This fate was worse than death in the eyes of Chandra, and as Gideon approached her, she begged for him to kill her instead. Gideon kneeled and whispered to Chandra, telling her that she may be able to keep her powers if the fire accepted her, only if she entered the flame with a clean soul. Chandra tells Gideon of her past, the haunting memories of her deeds, and the fate of her family, all the events which she was responsible for yet ran away from all these years. After pouring her soul, she explained that she didn't know what clean is, but that she did feel better. Walbert walked Chandra over to the fire, stating that her and her fellow pyromancer's abilities were the last threat to his total control of the plane, and with that, she was thrown into the purifying fire. While inside the flame, Chandra faced the past and her inner fire. She came to terms with all of the mistakes that she had made, the numerous defeats she had suffered, but also the victories she had won. When she emerged, Chandra felt more infused and focused than ever before and unleashed a powerful spell that decimated the Order's forces around her. She burned the Order's leader, Walbert, and many of his forces to death, but caused the cavern to crumble around her. Chandra was knocked unconscious by a piece of falling debris, but was rescued by Gideon. Gideon was disturbed by how Chandra handled the members of the Order, but she felt no remorse. She went into greater detail of the story she had told Gideon before she entered the flame, how her family and village were murdered by an organization promising law and order. Gideon had a slight understanding of what Chandra was feeling as she walked away. The last thing she tells him is that anyone who preaches the virtues of order would be no friend of hers. Chandra planeswalked to Zendikar, where Gideon said the Dragon Scroll originated. After some investigating, Chandra sought a guide to lead her through the mountain of Akum. She was looking for the Ruin Sage named Anawan, hoping he could shed some light on finding the Eye of Ujin, which came up in her investigations. Chandra finally came across the vampire's mountain camp, and after some convincing, Anawan agreed to lead the pyromancer to the Eye of Ujin. On the road, the vampire betrayed Chandra and attempted to
So
murder her
I don't
in
know
her
if y'all
sleep.
remember. I'm gonna pause right quick. The Eye of Ugin, uh, was that thing that it was, who was it? It was Ugin and two other, I think Ugin, Soren, and someone else. They made that they made a cavern in order to seal the Eldrazi's away, and that's the thing she's looking for. So if she finds that or breaks it, you already know what's gonna happen. Eldrazi party.
She called him in time and managed to counter his initial assault. Anawan proclaimed that she had no right to the scroll that was meant for him and attacked Chandra. The fight continued on, but Chandra's magic began to give out on her. She could have died if not for the intervention of the planeswalker, Sarkhan Vol, who knocked the aggressor unconscious. Sarkhan may have saved Chandra, but he made it clear that they were not allies. He did not want the pyromancer intruding on the Eye of Ujin. She casted a spell at the planeswalker, but it backfired. But this spell impressed Sarkhan nonetheless. He led Chandra deeper into the Eye.
Remember Sarkhan was the one that Ugin was talking to and told him, hey, he's the one that Ugin like possessed slash like tormented or haunted until he went and resurrected him.
Revealing the secrets of the scroll and of the Eye itself. The truth was far worse than Chandra had ever imagined. Now understanding the threat of the Eldrazi, she attempted to leave the Eye, but Sarkhan blocked her escape and changed fully into a powerful dragon. Left without her normal means of magic, she was assisted by an unexpected source, Jace Beleren. He also made the journey to the Eye seeking the secrets of the scroll, but came across Chandra's desperate battle. With his encouragement, Chandra casted a fire spell which could not be seen. This spell managed to knock her opponent unconscious, but accidentally knocked Jace unconscious as well.
The scroll contained a hidden map to Zendikar, and when I followed it, there was a fight waiting for me. Jace was right. It was a setup.
She stood over Jace and considered killing the Mind Mage because he always seemed to find her somehow. She decided against it and woke him up instead. She walked away from Jace with thoughts of vengeance in her head. Vengeance for the man who started all of this. The man who manipulated her from the very beginning. The man who released the Eldrazi. Ramaz. Ramaz brought the Dragon Scroll to Chandra's attention in the first place, and she wanted to know why.
Ramaz. I should have known better than to trust him. He's been messing with my mind. I'm gonna find him, and he'll pay.
She tracked the shamanistic planeswalker down and confronted him. After a skirmish, Ramaz escaped, revealing that he was but a minion of a much greater mind. That he was only the pawn of a mysterious dragon whose voice he followed.
I know who that dragon is.
The great dragon whispered you would find me.
Did your great dragon tell you I would kill you, madman? Coward.
The dragon Ramaz referred to was none other than Nicol Bolas, but his involvement in the story deserves an entire video on its own. Chandra is a character who, in my opinion, is underappreciated in the MTG lore despite being one of the 5 originally printed Planeswalkers. She has seen little light other than being the main character of the Magic 2014 Duels of the Planeswalkers game. which if you asked some players what they thought about the game's storyline, they would reply with, "That game has a story?" Nevertheless, if you enjoyed this story, I suggest that you read the novel The Purifying Flame, written by Laura Resnick. The book goes into great detail about these events, and is a very good read. I hope Chandra becomes a more influential character in future Magic expansions and storylines. With the Magic 2015 core set coming out soon, Chandra will be reprinted with new abilities, just like the other Planewalkers. If you could design Chandra for the 2015 core set, what abilities would you give her? And let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
All right, so yeah, that's the backstory and lore of Chandra. Um, in comparison to Nicol Bolas, who
T-Hawk.
just
Best
went
viewers
crazy.
on u.to/E3A7IA. Nightbot.
Get him,
At
Nightbot.
T-Hawk dash you're welcome. Stop posting links warning.
So yeah, that's that's the story of Chandra. It's not the same as how Nicol Bolas's was, where he just went crazy. Nicol Bolas was just like, bump this, I'm doing whatever I want. Let me see. Do I have? I thought. Hmm. Was it Nicol Bolas that I said I would show you guys the video of, so you could see the cards and such, or was it Ugin? Can y'all remind me of which one it was? No, I don't remember either. Hmm. That's cool. I'll go back to jamming the music and drawing. I just have to reset my layout, and then we can go from there. Let's see. So we're gonna turn this off, and then grab this, and I want to say if I just rescale this back to the proper size, it should.
Cremelyric. I think Nicobolas.
Was it Nicol Bolas? All right. Let me see if I can get Nicol Bolas queued up. But you see how her story
Cremelyric.
is different than Nicol
My
Bolas?
chat stopped working.
Oh, okay. No worries. Like, you see how her story was like, oh, tragedy, family death, like they like killed her whole family. Nicol Bolas, oh, my brother turned his back on me, so I'ma do whatever. I planeswalk because my brother did turned his back on me, and I feel so sad. Like,
Multiverse.
let's see.
Ugin, meanwhile, interplanar aura that traps 12 planes within and prevents interplanar travel into or out of it. For nearly 3,000 years,
All right.
Cremelyric. Nicobolas was just a winner.
Yeah, that's all. He just wanted to win. Okay. So I have to move this because I said I was gonna jump through the video because we had already watched like an hour and some change of it, but I didn't want to like lose what we already started. Okay, hold on. Can I duplicate this one? Can I like just copy and paste it so I don't have to like, yes, I can. Okay. Oop. So we're gonna have a smaller version of the display that's over here in the bottom corner. Then we have our larger one. And can I rename this as mini? And y'all can see all the stuff that I'm doing. Okay. Yep, mini. Oh, it renamed both of them. Okay. And if I turn back on the web capture. Okay. Uh, uh, okay, okay, we're good. So let's do a little jump in through Nicol Bolas, and we'll go
Nicol
from there.
Bolas is trapped outside his.
Okay, so uh, here if we're gonna go from the beginning. All right, let's show off who Nicol Bolas is. This is Nicobolus. So this is Nicobolus and all of his greatness and evilness. And this is one like path of Nicobolus where he ruled everything. This is before Ugin came and like reset everything. Uh, that gem in the middle of his forehead. Does my mouse show up whenever I? No, it doesn't. Okay. So that gem in the middle of his forehead or at the top of his horns, that's the thing that they were talking about that he stole from when Ugin fell. So that was the thing that was left behind that he picked up and he just put it in between his crown. And that's how Ugin was able to spy on him later on. Uh, where is it at? I think I moved a little bit to here it is. So it's funny because most of the magic cards, when they have something impactful or something dealing with the story, they always have like a line that goes with it. So the bottom of this one says the specimen seems to be broken, which is referring to something that he was working on. Uh, I always thought it was interesting that Nicol Bolas kind of looked like he was wearing clothes too. So here he is. And he's definitely wearing clothes and armor, where other dragons are generally like naked. And like you just see like different perspectives of Nicobolus. He always has like this type of energy. Like he has that I'm him energy every single time they draw him. Uh, this is the Ur dragon that they talked about in the beginning. That was the thing that created all the dragons when it flapped its wings. All the other dragons were made because of this thing made a storm, and that's the reason why you have all these dragons coming out around it. Let's see if I jump forward. So this is where they start the origin. This really isn't their egg, but they just needed a dragon egg, so they used this card. But can I get a good shot of that? Let's see. All right. So we have Nicobolus and then Ugin when they first started out. So this is what they look like when they first started out. So two naked dragons just chilling. This is actually the spirit dragon. This is after Nicobolus killed Ugin, and this is what he looked like. They really don't have any pictures of him not dead. And I think this was like the first Planeswalker card of Ugin, to be honest. Alright, I'm gonna. And this is the warrior that they had, that they showed that killed off their sister. Dragon Hunter is just the, the card name. That's it. Protection from dragons, and Dragon Hunter can block as though it has reach. So these guys, they fight dragons. That's actually a funny card because it can't be hurt by dragons. All right. Uh, so this is just another variant of Ugin the Spirit Dragon. That's after Ugin died. Here is where Ugin planeswalked to, and this is the spot where they fought at too. So let's see. Let's see. You have older versions of Ugin or Nicobolus before he became the way he was. So it's cool. Yeah. Sanctum of Ugin. This is where Ugin died fighting Nicobolus, and then he decided he was just gonna run off. And from then on, he just like he pretty much took off and did his own thing. He went off messing with stuff. This is the space when they said that he finally planeswalked, and he planeswalked to a space where there was like this giant monster, and he fought it, and that's the thing that he fought, killed, and ate for a week, and gained his powers. And then this is what he looked like afterwards. So yeah, he just kept getting stronger and worse. So if we go forward, when they were talking about like, oh, uh, Ugin was resurrected and he worked together with a creature to make a thing to trap Nicobolus. That's the creature. It's like Sphinx-like creature. And if you remember the Jay story, where he planeswalked to a place but he couldn't leave, and he met Vraska, who was supposed to help him uh, get this thing called the Immortal Sun. That's this thing. That's the thing that stops the planeswalkers from being able to leave that plane, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to trap Nicobolus there to stop him from going anywhere. And the funny thing about this is in the game of Magic the Gathering, this card does exactly that. It's like players can't activate abilities of planeswalkers. At the beginning of your draw step, you draw additional cards. Spells you cast cost one less. Creatures you control get +1/+1. It's all just to fight planeswalkers. That's all this card does. While buffing creatures. Let's see. Uh, this is during a time where uh the guy went back in time and re-changed history, and the reason why all those dragons spawned because a new storm came, and when he came back the world was covered by dragons. uh this is just one of the many fights that Ugin and Nicobolus went through, and this looks like Nicobolus is just choking out Ugin right here, and then he dies. uh so in the first timeline where Nicobolus beats Ugin, does all his crazy stuff, this is the samurai who defeats Nicobolus and has him salty. Okay. He planeswalks to another place, runs into this guy, Teferi. Uh, Teferi thought he could take him on. Ugin gets insulted and beats the mess out of him practically. I'm giving y'all the spark notes. All right, that's what we're doing. We're getting the spark notes of it, just so it's not like in the weeds. Okay. I think this is like after they fixed it. Nicobolus went back and killed this guy, and we'll watch the story of this guy Teferi later because he has like a large role to play in the upcoming like stories. All right, all right. So here we go. After after everything's said and done, and Nicobolus gets beat up because he was like you know, doing Nicobolus things. He planeswalked to this place where there was like plenty of mana, people are living good, they had gods there, and what this guy did is he popped up here and murked all the gods. Like straight up murked every single god that was here and anyone who would oppose him. Uh, this is the place where they said that he killed anybody that was old, and he kept the youthful people and manipulated them into becoming their new god. So what ended up happening is the whole plains ended up shifting, and you start seeing like his horns in a lot of places. Like in this one, it's like, oh, there's now those horns that pop up. Let's see. Do they show the other guys? Yeah. You see like a lot of people who are being like smited. You see like them building like pieces dedicated to him, even a throne for him, and he's known as the God Pharaoh. Uh, I think it jumps to Dominaria, and that's where they seal the Eldrazi's at. And during that time frame, because it was like, oh, I know what happened. They were sealing these things to lock them away, and Nicobolus was connected to it, so he was getting energy. But when they locked that last one, it locked him away, and he was stuck in here. So he ended up draining the plane for its energy in order to get close to the amount of energy he had, and also he had to use some of his powers to maintain it because it started shattering the plane that he was in. And yeah, dude, just it's just terrible. Uh, After being locked away, he just pretty much fought until he got his powers back. And like it even says, this is the card. Uh, Patient rebuilding. Nicobolus would not rest until he was restored to his former glory. Like, dude would not take a L for nothing. And if he did, he found a way to make sure he didn't. All right, and then I think were we here?
To gain what he desires, Nicol Bolas must plant himself firmly at the intersection of skill, luck, and opportunity.
Yeah.
The multiverse is infinitely large, so Bolas sets out in the years following the Great Mending to make it smaller. He sets plans into motion on countless planes, often isolating himself at the pools of becoming within his meditation realm for years at a time to calculate his myriad machinations. The Elder Dragon infiltrates empires on the rise, plunders the minds of the most gifted mages, and manipulates the powerful into servitude, all in the hopes of gathering knowledge or opportunity necessary to recover his lost power. Bolas travels to Ravnica and, disguised as a human, creates an interplanar group of spies, thieves, smugglers, and merchants, known as the Infinite Consortium. Though on the surface it's an illicit market for prized or exotic items, Bolas uses a network of mentally dominated servants to spy on many different planes. As he accrues secrets and begins developing a plan, the Elder Dragon is approached by an elderly and severely weakened Liliana Vess, who wishes to regain her pre-mending powers and immortality. Nicol agrees and assists in gathering 4 of the most powerful demons in the multiverse to sign a contract with Vess, forfeiting her soul for longer life and a fraction of her lost power, highlighted in the card Liliana's Contract. Unbeknownst
We'll
to
learn
her,
about
should the
Liliana
demons
next.
die and the contract default, her soul becomes the possession of Bolas himself, an overlooked fact that will be paramount in the decades to come. Around the year 4540 AR, Nicol Bolas takes particular interest in the plane of Alara, a mana-rich and energetically chaotic world that was splintered into 5 distinct planar shards thousands of years ago in an event known as the Sundering. The Elder Dragon learns what the shards have long forgotten, that they are pieces of a whole, and that they are on a collision course to merge once more. Bolas sees the conflicts of Alara as an opportunity to break through the veil of the Great Mending. A maelstrom of all 5 colors of mana will form with unimaginable power. If he can seize the power for himself, perhaps he can regain his godhood. But merely awaiting the conflux is not enough. Bolas must fuel its growth by sowing discord and reaping war, using the chaotic mana to awaken the obelisks of Alara and grow the maelstrom stronger than it could ever be alone. The dragon planeswalks first to the Shard of Grixis, a putrid and decaying world that shares his blue, red, and black color combination. There aren't any civilizations to overthrow, no proud souls to corrupt, only a show of his immense power and a promise to share it with the most ambitious is enough to make Grixis his own. Bolas instates the demon dragon Malfegor as his general to lead armies of Grixis undead against the other shards in the coming conflux. The remaining shards require a little more subtlety to bend to Bolas's will. On the Shard of Esper, where artifice and the metallic substance Ethereum are all that matter, Bolas infiltrates and manipulates the Seekers of Karmat to stir mass hysteria over dwindling supplies of Ethereum and spread the hope of finding Karmat on distant lands. The primordial and violent Shard of Jund is a place where dragons rule and the only law is that the strong take what they wish. Raka Mar is a human shaman and elementalist with great power and clout among all the tribes of Jund, and she offers her services during life hunts, suicidal hunts for larger and larger game, led by tribal warriors. But Mar has a darker passion, a lust for power, and craving to create more deadly elementals. In essence, a mind easily manipulated by Bolas. The dragon approaches Raka and offers her the power she seeks in exchange for servitude. Fully embracing her role as a pawn, Raka stirs the tribes to pursue life hunts more fervently, filling them with rage and passion that will violently spill over to the other shards during the conflux. Raka may be one of the most effective of Bolas's underlings, seen by how highly he speaks of her in her flavor text. The finest pawns are those with pawns of their own. The Shard of Naya is one full of life and growth, where behemoths are revered and nature is in harmony. The Leonin Nikatl have long since led an advanced culture high in the mountains ruled by the strictures of the coil. Bolas infiltrates the mind of a Leonin named Marisi and plants a seed of betrayal, mistrust, and rebellion. Marisi goes on to create a philosophical schism among the Nikatl that bursts into civil war. The Cloud Empire is destroyed, the coil is broken, and the once advanced civilization reverts to a state of savagery. Finally, on the Shard of Bant, where order reigns supreme and angels award sigils to the heroes of battle, Bolas finds a foothold within the Order of the Skyward Eye. Their ideals of perfection and righteousness are twisted into xenophobic fear and laments of doom as they preach the word of Bolas, unwitting pawns in his plans for the conflux. For years, his devious designs unfold on Alara while he awaits the conflux. It's at this time that the artificer and newly ascended planeswalker Tezzeret arrives from the Shard of Esper. Bolas sees potential as a powerful puppet in the young planeswalker, and so he tempts Tezzeret with power in exchange for subservience. Tezzeret agrees but quickly realizes the danger his master poses. He proceeds to usurp Bolas's position as leader of the Infinite Consortium and hires on Jace Beleren, a young mind mage and planeswalker, to protect Tezzeret from the mental assaults of Bolas should they cross paths in the
So
future.
you see how all this stuff is starting to link
And
up
that
together?
future arrives all too soon in a meeting on an undisclosed plane. Bellerin's mental traps and defenses prove no match for the Elder Dragon, who shatters them with a thought, but the pair escape. Tezzeret and Jace's relationship strains as the pair come to blows after Beleren is urged by Liliana Vess to confront the Artificer. Vess and Beleren attack Tezzeret's sanctum, and Jace defeats him in a duel, utterly crushing his mind and his body. These events all unfolded according to the plans of Nicol Bolas, who is revealed to have used Liliana to influence Jace into defeating Tezzeret. A confusingly deep plot with the purpose of retribution against the planeswalker who betrayed him. Bolas takes the mindless heap of Tezzeret to his meditation plane, where he rebuilds and repurposes the Artificer to execute his schemes. This short arc gives us a sense of how far Nicol Bolas will go for revenge and how deep his machinations are layered. In 4556 AR, roughly 15 years after his initial plans were set into motion, Nicol Bolas returns to Alara and prepares to reap what he has sown. All of his cells, all of his pawns and operatives performed their roles perfectly. The conflux approaches, and each shard is poised to rip each other apart in violent war. The space between shards closes, and the boundaries explode as the plane reforms once more. As shards overlay, hordes of undead pour forth from Grixis. Fierce dragons and life hunters rush from the volcanoes of Jund. Sphinxes and metallic constructs soar from the dull skies of Esper. Behemoths and Leonin tribes surge from
My
the
bad.
jungles of Naya, and angels lead the nations of Bant marching in thunderous lockstep.
I'm just saying. You see how
Alara is in a state
I said that this guy's like Thanos, but worse. This guy is like just worse, just way worse. Like this dude spent years planning this, like to make sure that he can get back to the strength that he was at beforehand.
of all-out war. And as the conflict grows, the surge of mana and energy awakens the obelisks of Alara, which in turn fuel the maelstrom, building in the center of the conflux. hatred, grief, death, and destruction sweeps all of Alara up in bloody battle. It is exactly what Nicol Bolas planned for, and the Maelstrom gathers the power he needs. But there's one obstacle in the Elder Dragon's way. A diminutive and recently ascended planeswalker from the Leonin tribes of Naya named Ajani Goldmane. Ajani's on a quest of vengeance against his brother's murderers, who were working as agents of Bolas. The Leonin also realizes the gravity of the situation and attempts all he can to prevent the Elder Dragon from absorbing the power of the Maelstrom. He attacks Bolas with Blade and Claw, Fire and Spirit. But what is a nascent spark compared to one that has burned for millennia? Nicol Bolas scorches and slashes Ajani within an inch of his life. Standing triumphant, he reaches out and draws in the Maelstrom. The dragon's body surges with power as rivers of energy flood into him. Bolas's plans have yielded great fruit, and the Planeswalker pulses with pre-mending power once more. The battered and bruised Ajani, left for dead but still commanding unbreakable will, sees an opportunity to strike. A fragment of the Maelstrom's power lingers, and the Leonin uses it to summon the spiritual essence of Bolas's own soul to fight the Elder Dragon. This is highlighted in the art of Ajani's last stand. The two dragons engage one another in perfect symmetry, mirroring each other's strikes. For once, it appears Bolas has met his match in the embodiment of his own persona. The Elder Dragon and his spirit rear back, then bite down on each other's necks simultaneously. A white-hot light blasts from the twinned dragons, and a moment later Bolas is gone, banished from Alara. It's not explicitly stated how much Nicol Bolas was harmed from this fight, or even if it can be considered a defeat, as he presumably retains much of the power drawn from the Maelstrom. Unless the bite from his summon essence released it all, but I don't think that was the case. Support for this theory comes from the tragic origins of the Skalland planeswalker Vivien Reid. Vivien was a member of the druidic forest clans known as the Smaragdi, who stood in opposition of the technologically advanced Nura. The Nura were so advanced that they garnered the attention of Nicol Bolas, who plumbed the minds of their archmages for their secrets. After gathering the information he desired, Bolas began destroying the plane entirely.
Of course he did.
A
Of
feat
course
that
he
should be
did.
near impossible after the mending, unless Bolas retained the Maelstrom's power. As fires envelop the forests and earthquakes destroy the land, the Smaragdi and Nura combine their knowledge to create a weapon capable of fighting the Elder Dragon, the Arc Bow. Although they were unable to use it, Vivien Reid managed to grab it before planeswalking away from Scala's imminent collapse. After the events on Alara, Nicol Bolas takes special interest in the planes of Mirrodin and Zendikar. Both contain interplanar threats that could be of use to the Elder Dragon. The artificial plane of Mirrodin is fighting a battle for its life against the contagion and corruption of a new Phyrexia on the rise. He sends a reprogrammed and mind-shattered Tezzeret, now completely under Bolas's control, to investigate and prevent any one faction from assuming leadership or centralizing the hierarchy of New Phyrexia. Meanwhile, he sends Sarkhan Vol, a dragon shaman from Tarkir whom Bolas met and mentally broke on Alara, to the primordial and chaotic
This
plane
guy
of
can't catch a
Zendikar,
break.
where the interplanar monstrosities known as the Eldrazi remain trapped in stasis. Traces of the Elder Dragon's long-dead twin, Ugin, can be found in the magical stone hedrons floating throughout the plane. And Nicol Bolas himself visited Zendikar, studying his brother's magic in the Nexus at the Eye of Ugin. Even in death, Ugin resists Bolas, and the Elder Dragon can't penetrate the secrets of the hedrons, but he ripped the knowledge of the Eldrazi from his brother's mind long ago. He tasks Sarkhan with protecting the Eye of Ugin and ensuring nothing happens to it. While on Zendikar, the Dragon Mage is confronted by the fiery planeswalker Chandra Nalaar and Jace Beleren. Vol attacks Chandra in his delusional state, but is defeated when Nalaar unleashes the power of Ugin's Ghostfire from an ancient dragon scroll in her possession. unbeknownst to the trio, the presence of 3 Planeswalker sparks and Ugin's breath is the key needed to unlock the Eye of Ugin and awaken the Eldrazi Titans. This
She released them. She released them.
is the eventuality that Nicol Bolas planned for all along. Bolas was responsible for manipulating Chandra's appearance at the Eye. He knew what the Eye held before sending Sarkhan there, and he left clues he knew Beleren would not ignore, all to unlock the Eldrazi from their prison. Even with the power harnessed from the Alaran Maelstrom, Bolas was not yet freed from the Great Mending. He acquired knowledge of an extremely ancient and powerful spell some time ago known as the Elder Spell, which could break him from his shackles. But it required an absurd amount of an extremely rare commodity, Planeswalker Sparks. Bolas manipulated the trio into unlocking the Eldrazi in hopes that their presence would attract countless Planeswalkers to Zendikar. He planned to cast the Elder Spell, harvest the sparks of every walker present, then regain his former glory. But his plans didn't come to fruition. Although a smattering of Planeswalkers answered Zendikar's pleas, it wasn't sufficient for Bolas's Elder Spell. It also had the unforeseen consequence of creating a band of allies to oppose him, a group of Planeswalkers known as the Gatewatch. The dragon does, however, have another plan in motion across multiple planes. He leaves Zendikar to its doom and returns once more to the plane he built in his image, the plane of Amonkhet.
This is the one that he was at where he killed all the gods, by the by. But, I did not know that that's how they ended up getting out, is because of him. What's up, Mustang? I did not know that Nicol Bolas did that. And Chandra was the reason why. Because of the ghost. Oh my god. You know how much planning this guy had? You know how long it took them to get there? Like, most of the stuff happened like in 2014 when they were like initially talking. Like most of that stuff happened what in 17? 3 years of planning plus? Crazy. What's up? What's up? All right. We're at our time this evening. I have our time bookmarked, the Gatewatch saga, because things are about to get really nuts in like the breakdown of this last bit. Because what this dude just did is he attempted to steal the ability, like the energy that allows these guys to jump from plane to plane, but it failed. And now he's like, well, I guess my only solution to solving this issue is doing something even worse than what I was doing before. And we don't know what happens when those planeswalker sparks are taken, but we're gonna find out. I'm pretty sure in the next stream of Overwatch lore, or not Overwatch, Magic the Gathering lore. All right. Hopefully you all enjoyed these like sessions, and like it's kind of like a story time a little bit. If you didn't like know about Magic lore, I'm gonna turn this back on but low. There we go. So yeah, hopefully everybody is enjoying these sessions. We're gonna continue. How much time do we have left on this video? Uh, we have like 30 minutes, so that's probably like next stream. Next stream, we're gonna like finish up the run of Nicol Bolas, like the bad baddie of Magic the Gathering, the Thanos that wrapped up all of the things that we've been waiting for. But it's gonna be interesting seeing how all these other things unfold, and I'm curious if he like impacted something else that's currently happening in the universe. But yeah. I appreciate everybody joining me for another session. I'll be back tomorrow morning for a game dev stream. We're on Five Nights at Freddy, aren't we? Next week we'll do game dev sessions, but as a reminder, in the morning I'm only going live on Twitch, and in the afternoon streams is going to be all platforms. So I appreciate y'all joining me for another session. You can be anywhere else, but you're here with me right now. Until next time, Hero out.